Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back in War Thunder and it's time to have a look at an update to the dev server, and luckily Gentlespie has been able to create another Google Doc for us to have a look through the changes that have happened on the dev server. You can see that it's at 1.89.0.27. It was changed today to 1.89.0.36, and the reason why this is a significant change is because it was a 6 gigabyte update, a massive update on top of the last massive update for the update 1.89, which was the last dev server. So my guess is if you want to get on the dev server, it's probably going to be open this weekend, which is once again going to clash with World War Mode, which is annoying, at least from my point of view, but from a general point of view, I'm sure it doesn't matter too much. So anyway, let's get through the changes, and once again, thank you to Gentlespie for putting this together. As I've said many times, there'll be a link in the description to his War Thunder live channel, so you can check out his other content that he's made, and if you want to check out the Google Doc for yourself, there will be a link in the description as well. So the first change is that the Leopard 2A4 and 2A5, the neutral steering has been fixed on them. Now, hopefully, that is fully true. A lot of the top tier vehicles, I remember when the Abrams came out, it took a long time for its actual neutral steering to properly work. The main issue was on angles, it never fully worked. And since the Leopard is an asymmetrical vehicle when it comes to its hull, or if you don't believe me, just look vertically down at it from the front, I'm guessing that was kind of screwing with its neutral steering. Hopefully now it makes sense. The Leclerc S1 armor values have been added. As I said on the first dev server, there is no way that the Leclerc S1 is going to have parts of its turrets, which aren't the breach, which is only 90 millimeters thick. So now it looks like they've added the turret armor. They've added other things to it, making it more comparable, so we'll have to make sure to check that out on the second dev server. The radar has been added to the Flarak KPZ-1 and many armor changes. It's also had adjusted gear ratios, horsepower has been reduced from 720 to 600, and the mass has been reduced from 33,200 to 32,000, and it's probably added to the tech tree. That wouldn't be a surprise to me. It would be very odd if the Flarak actually just stays in the files and doesn't come out and be added to the German tech tree, because alongside all of the other AAM launches, it makes sense. But if it's just kind of just sat there in the files, it would be kind of a disservice to Germany, since they kind of need, you know, an air-to-air machine like that, since everybody else is getting one apart from Japan and of course Italy. I obviously tested it on the first dev server. It wasn't fully ready, but I will be testing it on this one as well because I'm with Gentlespie here. I think with these changes, with the fact that it's got its radar added and a bunch of other stuff, I'll be incredibly surprised if it wasn't actually on this dev server. The Excelsior armor values have been adjusted, hopefully in a positive way. The main issue with the Excelsior is it still has the flat turrets of the Cromwell, so people can, if you're at your BR, especially Panzer IV F2s and Panzer IV Gs, anything with the long 75 can just look at you and pen you. So hopefully, you know, it's increased. If not, then we're going to have to rely a bit more on the Excelsior speed and the spaced armor on the side. There's also some new ESS stuff, and he's not exactly sure what it might be, but it is an improvement to ESS, so they've made it slightly better. In my opinion, the only issue with ESS now is that it starts way too far behind your vehicle. It would be much better if it started on top of your vehicle, like it does in real life. If you look at ESS in the game, like I was using it yesterday on the BMP2, while you're driving around, it if you click it, it comes out of your vehicle maybe 3 to 5 meters behind you, so you're never covered by your own ESS while you're planting it. And obviously, in real life, it will be coming out on you at exactly the same time as you have, started the reaction with the diesel fuel itself. So hopefully the smoke starts closer to your vehicle. I think that would be a lovely change. The Sturm ATGM carrier has got a new 9M120F1 thermobaric ATGM. It has a top speed of 550 meters per second. It's a HE missile with 4.5 kilos of A92, which is equal to 7 kilos of TNT equivalent. So this thing is just designed to do a ton of damage to machines in a very explosive way. If we're not too careful here, this may turn into another one of those situations like the HE shell that some of these top-tier Soviet machines have. And if that's the case, then the Sturm may have a new starting missile instead of the other one, which struggles to pen anything. At least the top tiers. As I've said on the first dev server, the ATGM isn't really the issue on the Sturm, especially once you're fully upgraded, getting the attacker ATGM. The issue is everything else. It's not fast enough to compensate for no armor. It's obviously got no armor. It doesn't have stuff like dual drive. You can't shoot while on the move. You can't scout in it. You can't really do anything in it apart from fire the ATGM. And the ATGM is mounted on the back of it, meaning that it's a tough, fire at anyone. So yeah, I would still give it a miss. It's definitely one of the weakest vehicles of the patch, but eventually I'm sure people will research it after they're done with everything else. The Leclerc 120mm cannon fire rate has gone up to 6 seconds from 5. That still should be fine, because the fire rate is obviously auto-loaded. So you don't have to worry about crew skills to be able for it to go up and down. So no matter what happens, the Leclerc will have a 6-second reload from stock to fully upgraded. So that's still a very competitive reload. The Starstreak missile has gone faster. It's now not just 1250, but it's at 1400 meters per second. And a lot of these missiles did get upgraded to higher speeds. So 1400 meters per second has now made it much better to be able to hit targets. A lot of people said that they're worried about the fact that you don't have proximity fuses on the Starstreak missiles and you actually have to hit the enemy with them. I am not worried about this, and the reason why is because if you are worried about that, then it will just take practice to be able to aim and hit things. And on top of this, you have double the amount of missiles of any of the other missile carriers when it comes to anti-air, machines. So therefore, if you if you miss a few, then you have some spare. I'll put it like that. The A2D BR has been changed from 4.7 to 6.7. Who saw that coming? That monstrosity has gone up in BR. But also, I will point out that there has been a lot of changes to it, because I basically asked, a Gentlespie about the thing. And after it going up from 4.7 to 6.7, and he said there were too many changes to actually list on this Google Doc, and I'll show you why. So these are all the changes that has happened to the A2D. All of these are changes. What the hell has happened to this monstrosity? Something tells me this now is a completely different machine from before, compared to what we saw on the first dev server. So we'll have to make sure to try it again on the second dev server to see if it still has the same bomb loads, still the same torpedoes, still the same speed, all of that stuff. Because this does not fill me with confidence that we are going to see the same aircraft as we did before. Anyway, especially now that it's gone up by 2 whole BRs. I wonder if the cost will be the same as well. I think it was 3,850, something like that on the dev server. I'm wondering if that will change or not. The Tunguska SAM was buffed. The 3 kilo A92 is going to a 9 kilo A92, so the TNT equivalent being 13.5 kilos. Oh my god. Hopefully that doesn't overmatch too much stuff. Top speed has been buffed from 910 to 1200. So once again, another buff to a velocity of a missile. The proximity fuse has been nerfed though from 20 meters to 5 meters. So now you're going to get a bigger explosion, but the proximity fuse, you're going to have to get closer to the target to make it go pop. So technically, it should, once your missile explodes, you should always get a guaranteed kill with this thing, but it's going to be harder to get it to explode. That's the way to look at this. The Roland ROF has been buffed, and obviously the ROF means the rate of fire, from 8.3 seconds to 0.41 seconds, and as Gentlespie correctly points out, is probably to launch both tubes at once, and the caliber changed from 163mm to 175. The explosive mass has been changed from 3.5 to 6.5. The top speed has gone from 560 to 900. 900. The upgraded Roland missile, the caliber changed to 175mm. The TNT mass changed from 4.9 to 8.9 kilos. And the top speed changed from 620 to 900 again. And the proximity fuse has nerfed from 20 meters to 6. So once again, a lot more explosive mass in these machines, a lot higher velocity on the missile themselves, but they are getting their proxy fuses nerfed. This seems to be something which is happening across the board, and if this is happening to the if this is happening to the Roland, I'd be incredibly surprised if it doesn't happen to the Florak too, since they seem to fire these same missiles. You can also now shoot anti-air missiles and AGMs, such as the AGM-114F, and make them explode before they hit you. So there seems to be some way of being able, maybe by a button or something, to set them off yourself instead of having to hope that it does it by themselves. So this means that you can create situations such as the fact that this proximity fuse has been nerfed. You have more explosive mass, so you can manually be able to blow up the missile just in case you think you've missed by the 6 meter mark, which is kind of cool. And as you can see, lots of A2D changes. The engine thrust of both engines got reduced from 8,000 kgf to 228 for each engine. The actual horsepower has reduced from 3,916 to 2,517 per engine. So I actually talked to Rocker about this because obviously, when you look on the dev server, it looks like, as I said in the video, the 2 engines which were available were kind of stuck together. And it seems to be a similar system to the HE177, if not a little bit less complicated. So because of the fact that you had two individual engines and they were stuck together in the A2D, they then became one engine with a different name. Just like how with the HE177, it is technically 4 engines of that machine, but 2 of them are molded together, which is why it only looks like 2, and they have their own name as well. So, it's always a debate, is it 4 engines or is it 2 engines with 2 of them mangled together? But it does have its own separate name compared to the independent engines, so yeah. I thought that was a nice little tidbit. There's also a new explosive type added called the SW39A. It's 1.28 times stronger than TNT. Wonderful. And then the Tails radar added for something UK, probably the Stormer. So I had a look at Tails radar. They're a company, and they specialize in, as always, innovation, mainly to do with electronics and also military stuff. So they do make a lot of things. It is kind of surprising to me how much they actually make, but understand that their main products are the Watchkeeper WK450 drone, the Top Sky air traffic control system, Search Master, Ocean Master's radars, which is used on ships, Bushmaster armored vehicle, an assault rifle, the Hawkle armored car, Goalkeeper CIWS, which is once again a Dutch close-in weapon system, the Starstreak missile, the Crowtail missile, which is an all-weather short-range anti-air missile, and also the Celltrack and the Avant in-flight entertainment system. So you can see they definitely are ever expanding, but mainly to do with military hardware. The Goalkeeper CIS is an autonomous and completely automatic weapon system for short-range defense of ships and aircraft. It's another one of these machines, kind of like the railgun or minigun from the Americans, which is just designed to deal with incoming fire and try and knock it off course. But the main thing, at least for now, is they make the Starstreak. The manufacturer of the Starstreak is Tails Air Defense, and my guess is the radar with the Starstreak is what's linked to it. So that's what will be added to the game. And I'm sure we'll be seeing Tails quite a lot in the future, because as you can see, they do make a lot of other stuff. What is interesting, though, is the major shareholders of Tails are the French state at 27% and Dassault Aviations at nearly 26%. So it's just it's one of those interesting tidbits. They do make a lot of really cool stuff, so it's always worth looking into companies like this. But yeah, I think for now it's the Starstreak missile, which is the reason why the Tails radar has been added, because it is obviously connected to that. They've changed the ammo rack reload for ships. Hopefully they've made it a little bit more realistic, you know, by the way of if you use a shell, it disappears from the ammo rack. The Amex 30 Roland, its radar has been added, so that's nice. Basically the same as the Flak. Hopefully the Roland radar works perfectly. The German T-34 has a new winter camo, so we'll have to make sure to check that out. And the C1 Ariete production remains mostly unchanged. This is kind of a surprise to me. I thought that there would be more changes towards the C1 Ariete, just because of the fact that it's... because I feel like you need to make it stand out from the prototype, and if you keep it very similar to it, then you're just going to have another go-kart at top tier for the Italians, which, you know, I'm sure a lot of people would be fine with. But for me personally, I would like to see a little bit of armor on that. There were some armor changes for the Type 16, but since it technically isn't in the it wasn't in the dev server trees yet, it is one of those things where we didn't really have a comparison to it yet. All at least I really knew was that it was a 9.3 with the same rounds as the Type 74 and the same gun. And I understand a lot of people pointed out that it does have a different gun in real life, or at least it's a slightly longer barrel. I understand, but I'm saying from a game point of view. As I always do in these dev server videos. The T95E1, the neutral gear ratio is increased from 3 to 15, and my guess is that it will make it easier to neutral, or it will make it easier from neutral to move to different gears in the T95E1, but we'll see. The AH-1S is getting new camos, so I don't know what's happening with the AH-1S. Like, it is, at least, as I said, it is sat in the files. It is set up to be some form of Japanese helicopter premium. It should be exactly the same as the H1F, but it's getting new camos, and also we know it exists in the files. So What is going on with this? Are they just going to surprise us with a Japanese helicopter? I don't know. The Hunter F6 is getting a black and blue camo, not one camo but two, and both cost 200G. I'm going to have to check them out. I'm sure they'll be lovely. The A2D has also got a blue camo on it. Lovely. The C1 Ariete got an M322 APFS-DS with 625mm of pen at 10 meters. It's also BR 10.0 now. 625. So if this is real, I'm obviously going to have to look at the angled penetration. But this would easily be the best round in game by 100mm. Because we literally just got the Leclerc round, which just crested the 500mm mark, and now the Ariete is just coming in here with a sledgehammer and just smashing everything up. Jesus Christ. Okay, we'll have to check that out as well. The 76mm Otto Breda, the automatics gun, the proxy fuses now detect shells. Interesting. Why and how does it do that? Oh, no, that means... Okay, so if there's stuff coming in, like, you know how they said that ATGMs would be able to be destroyed now in the air, which is something we're definitely going to have a look at. Does this mean that the automatics gun's proximity fuse will blow up near these ATGMs or near anything really, and blow up to make sure to destroy the incoming onslaught of fire? If that's the case, that's really cool. if that works like that. And I'm just worried about the fact that they've put shells instead of ATGMs, but we'll have to see when it comes to the dev server. Overall, quite a lot of changes to the top tier anti-air machines. It looks to me like they're all positive changes. There is a lot more control when it comes for the player now, and also I can't wait to see these Leclerc changes. Obviously its reload being nerfed doesn't help it, but I still think 6 seconds is fine. The armor is really where it's at, and also the A2D being completely changed compared to the first dev server is not surprising at all. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, John Ryman, Martinez, Matity, Moxie, Nito, Nick Graham, Alobralo, Sebastian Corona, Super Cacti, and Elove Goats and Seductive Trashcan for supporting the channel.